Hello and welcome to my channel. On this video we will remove the injectors from this Deutz Magirus, Iveco Deutz Magirus 1916, because the car was smoking badly and the injectors are the original ones, I think, from the factory, never changed, running for so many years, so they must be rebuilt. First we need a 12mm wrench to remove the fuel passage bolts, the bolts with a little hole inside from the return line. On this particular engine we have 6 of them, because it's 6 cylinders. 4 of them are a little shorter, 2 of them are a little longer on the second and on the 6th cylinder, because there are 2 return lines going back to the fuel system. So first we need to remove those, take them out completely, and then we must remove the fuel return line. So these fuel passage bolts are located here on the left side of the injector, like you can see on the video. We must remove them all first, so we can move the metallic hard line for the return fuel. As you can see, you must remove them all and take care. You must remove after this the little copper washers that seal the fuel. So, as you see, I removed the last one. Now we must remove this metallic line, the fuel return line. You must rotate it a little bit because it's like a zigzag, or pull it a little. It goes, it's not so hard. So after this, the next step we must do is remove the copper washers. It's better to remove them. You never want things that can fall inside the engine. Remove them from the injectors, so we can go on the next step. Now the next is to remove the high pressure diesel connections that go on the injectors. You will need a 17mm wrench for this, and you must untighten this all, make them loose and completely remove them. Like you see, I make here first, I make them all loose and I will remove them later. I will loosen them completely later. You must remove all 6 of these, make them loose and take them completely off. As you see from the little pieces of paint here flying off, the original injectors probably are these that come with the motor, since it was out of the factory, painted, because they have all the same green color painted over. So it's a good idea to change them. The car was smoking pretty heavy, and after so many kilometers and so much use, they start to go bad. As you see here, I'm loosening the nut completely on all of them. So it's a good idea to change the injectors, because after many years of use they start to go bad. They have too many fuel return, the diesel goes around the needle and goes up on the return, too much of it. And because the diesel injectors have like a needle, metallic needle that is supposed to seal on the tip. And after many years of use, these surfaces get from the heating and all these years of use, when the metal contacts the metal, because it has a strong spring behind it. When this happens continuously, after a long time, it's normal that it will get eaten away, scratched and dented, so it's not sealing anymore good, and the fuel goes past the surface that's supposed to seal it, and it goes inside your cylinder. So yes, you have too much fuel in the cylinder, the burn is not done good, probably fuel getting wasted, so it's better to change them. So as you see now here, I take a nut, a 70mm long nut, because you can work also with a short one, I think, but it's better a long one because the studs are pretty long. So it's better have a 17mm nut long with a wrench. They don't need so much power to remove them, it's pretty easy. Maybe with a little heating, or maybe if you can do it like this with a little extension, but it's pretty easy. You can take it off with the hands. And you must remove all the nuts, since they were painted over. It's a little hard to remove, it's not so easy sometimes. Maybe it gets stuck, or if your car is old and rusted, maybe you have a little bit of rust preventing it, so but normally this comes pretty easy out. And of course, if you see rust on the threads, on the studs, you always can put some rust remover spray, some rust losser, and it's not a bad idea to put a little and let it sit 5 minutes. So as you see now, I remove all the fuel return lines there, the fuel lines there. The nuts are completely loose. I move them a little to see that they are loose. You have two little metal holders for the air tube that goes from the compressor to the back. You must remove these two, they go on the 17 on the studs. And after this you can put a little to the side the high pressure fuel line that goes on the injector, and remove these little holders. This is like a piece that holds the injector in place and it pushes it in. So you remove a little bit pieces what come after you remove the holders. You blow away with all the little pieces of rust or paint or anything you have there. You see it so much. This is not good because if this falls in the engine, first of all it can hurt the engine, scratch the cylinder, many other things. And second of all, where the injector sits in the cylinder, over the cylinder, it has a little copper ring that it must seal good and make good contact on the aluminum from the cylinder head. So it's not a good idea to have anything unwanted. The engine must be clean above where you work, and you must make sure that nothing can fall inside, because this is not good at all. So now to remove the injectors you need this special tool. You can make one pretty easy. You can take only the threaded part, the nut thing that goes over the injector, and weld it on a piece of rod with a weight or something, but this is a special tool. It threads on and it has a little counterweight, and you do it like this. You thread it on the injector and you hit it, you pull it backwards. Normally they come out pretty easy if the cylinders, if the seating place is clean. Sometimes from rust or dirt or anything else they come a little harder out, but normally it's pretty easy to make. You thread it on, and using the little weight you hit backwards. Yeah, tack, tack, yeah. It's not so hard. You must do this on all 6 cylinders. So you need to remove them all and put them. Normally, if you make any kind of job that you just need to remove the cylinder, the injectors from the cylinder head to, I don't know, remove all the cylinder head or any kind of other job that involves removing the injectors, normally you put them all in a, like you remove them from the first to the sixth or to the, doesn't matter how many it has. You put normally a line with a marker or anything. You put 1, 2, 3, 4, so you know where it comes. It's always better to put it back like you take it in. But yes, it's not so important in our case. They will all go for repairing in a rebuild shop for injectors, so it doesn't really matter the way you take them off, which was first, which was last, all will be repaired in this case. So don't forget to put something to cover the engine, because maybe you have new ones in the shop, you know, but in our case we must take them to the shop and they will need a few days to be rebuilt. So it's always a good idea to put anything on top of the holes that go, because we don't want anything going inside the cylinder. So here we remove the little rings that go on the injectors. These little rings are made to hold the cylinder. They have like a little bump, so they go on the injector and they hold it in the right position, so always the return line hole is facing the correct way. But these are not needed in the rebuild shop. They have nothing to do with the internals of the injector, so we just remove them, clean them maybe a little bit, and send the injectors to be repaired. So we are ready. We are finished for now. This is all. Make sure nothing falls inside the cylinder. The holes are covered. Okay, so here, actually this is another engine, but this is the exact same engine. It's a Iveco Deutz Magirus 9016. Simply the first one, I was not at the shop when we removed it, so another co-worker of mine installed it, but we have the same car and it's the same exact injector, the exact same process to take it out and in. It's basically exactly the same, simply the color changes, because this engine was painted over. So, first we must check all the holes, make sure nothing is inside, blow air, clean them good, make sure nothing is inside, because even a little piece of paint can hold the copper ring from sealing on the cylinder head, and you will have compression and leaking out, and this is never a good thing. So we take the new injectors like they are. We must remove the plastic covers that come from the rebuild shop, and we must first put these rings on. These are the rings that help align the return line. They make sure that it sits only in the same place. These rings, on the one side they are flat and on the other side they are like a half moon, so you can't really put them backwards. They are made so the injector cannot turn. So you must put this on, and of course you will need copper washers, or how it's called, copper rings that they go in front of the injector. These are what seals the compression from the outside. You must put them on. In this case it goes pretty tight on the injector, on the tip, so it's not so normally, because in many injectors they are floating a little bit. You can put always a little grease in the tip of the injector on the surface, not on the tip, where the injector body ends, where is the flat surface. You put a little bit of grease and then you put the ring on top of it, because you don't want your washer to fall down inside the cylinder before you put the injector. So you put a little bit of grease there, normal grease, and it holds it in place. So after that you push the injector inside, make sure it's turned so the little bump on the ring you put on top meets the groove on the cylinder head. After you push this inside, then you can take the holder, this piece of metal, how can I say it, the injector holder. You take this and you must install this in place. You put it over the injector and we can tighten this later. So, as you see here, we take the copper ring, we put it on. This goes pretty tight, so I think I put in a few of these little grease. So you must put this ring, as you see here, you must put it on everyone and make the same process on all 6 injectors. I like always to put a little grease there in case dust or water or rust or whatever with time comes there, they're not seized in place. So a little bit of grease on the surface in the front of the injector to hold the ring, and maybe a little grease around the ring that aligns it, and you do this process for all 6 of them. And then you put the holder over the injector. As you see there, I'm hitting a little bit that ring that goes on top for alignment. Sometimes it doesn't go so easy, completely so easy. You can push it with your fingertip or with your nail, so I like to use a screwdriver a little, give it a little bump, it goes easy in place. Like this, it's not a problem. Although, if you're doing this job by yourself, I would suggest that you don't put this metallic piece I'm putting now, the holder. First put the injectors in place and then the return line, because it will be a lot easier to put the little washers on the return line fuel bolts, you know. It will be a lot easier to put them in place and catch them. Although, okay, I'm pretty used to it and it's not really such a big deal, but if you do this yourself, it's not so bad. You can let the holders out, put the injectors all in place, put the return, the hard line, the metallic line in place, catch all the nuts with the catch all the bolts, the fuel bolts with the washers in place, and then you can put this after the holders. It's not so. As you see here, I'm putting the copper washer on the little holder. I like always to put a little grease there, I told you, because it's better, and long term, if you need to remove them, they're not seized there. So that's it. You must repeat this on all 6 cylinders. Make sure that this metallic ring is seated good, that the injector is fully seated inside the hole all the way. Take care, be careful, you must not hit the tips of the injectors anywhere. You can softly touch them anywhere, it's not so easy to break them, but it's better to avoid any contact with the tip of the injector, because that's where the fuel is sprayed from and you don't want it to be bent or broken. So you must take very much care with the injectors and be gentle with them on the tip. This sounds very funny, but yes, you know what I mean. Put a little grease on the shaft and install the injector. So yes, repeat this for all 6 cylinders, and this is the step. Sorry for the noises, I couldn't really avoid them. So as you see now, we take the hard return line, the metallic one, blow a little air inside, although they were pretty clean covered, but it's always good to blow some air, make sure they are clean. Although, like I said before, you can let these little holders off and then put the line first, so it's easier for you to put it and put the little nuts and washers there. But yes, I will don't know. You can put first this line, catch the little bolts, the fuel bolts, or it's called fuel line bolts with a hole inside for the return fuel. You can catch them in place. Like you see, I put the hard line in place. Now I will find the washers I need for the little bolts. You will need 2 for the single ones and 3 for the double ones. 1 in the front, 1 in the middle, 1 in the back. And for the normal ones, 1 in the front, 1 in the back. As you see, I will take them all. Make sure they are the right size and they fit snug around. They don't have a lot of play left and right. They must fit snug on the bolt. And then you can start installing them. Of course, as I told you, you can put this first before the holders. And the 2 holders that go on the air tube, the metallic tube for the air that comes from the compressor, you must put them also. You put the holders, and after the holders, you must put this on the second and on the 6th cylinder, I think, yes. You must put them in place and over this the nut. So after you catch all the little bolts in place, you put the covers on, you put the 2 holders for the air tube, and then you put all the nuts in place. So you must tighten all of these pretty good, pretty snug. Take care when you put them on, you don't cross thread them, you know. It must go easy with the hand, not be too hard, because if you cross thread them, you will probably break the threads on the injector or on the bolt, and you don't want this. It's a very painful thing to fix. Not impossible, but you must take it out, repair the threads, so better avoid it. Make sure everything is good aligned and it goes soft with your hand in place. So after this you must make them all tight, make them snug until the copper ring is quite snug pressed. I'm using both hands here, but you know, it's a control of power. You see, only with 2 fingers it's enough, you don't need too much. If the copper ring is compressed good, then it's finished, it's not leaking. So as you see here, you need to take your ratchet with a 70mm, and after you put the holders for the injectors, and after you have cut all the fuel return bolts in place and everything is aligned good and they are tight and snug, you know, you must do this step first, because if you tighten the injector and it's just a little left or right, it's hard to align it and put the bolt in place. So you must do that first, and then after you put the covers, the holders, you make everything tight and snug with your hands. They don't need to be too much because we will torque them. So you take your ratchet, you make them all tight, snug, and then after this we will torque them. So of course we need a torque wrench to torque everything like it should be. From factory for this Deutz Magirus 9016, for this 6-cylinder engine. The torque spec is 25 to 30 Newton meters, although even if you do it 35 it's not a problem, but 30 I think is very good. You must torque them down to 30. Make sure your torque wrench clicks 2 times at least on every one. You must torque them all at 30 Nm. I don't know how it's in any other kind. It's 30 Newton meters. You must Google the translation for other kinds of, you know what I mean. So after torquing everyone, I think we are very good. Now everything is torqued down, everything is good, so I think we are ready. Now you must make the nuts on top, the 70mm nuts. Remove the little cap. I let the caps on because you don't want trash or dust or paint or dirt or anything falling inside your injector, because it will get clogged and that's not good. So you remove the little caps that come from the rebuild shop, and after this you catch all the threaded, how this is called, thing that goes on the nipple thing on the injector. You catch them all, make sure they're not cross-threaded. You catch every one of them, and then you hand tighten them as much as they go. So you must make them tight by hand, not completely. You must let a little bit of play on the back, you know, so you can remove the high pressure line. You can move it a little front and back so there is a little space, because after we make this, we catch them in place, we will use a little pump on the motor. In this case, it's, if you can see on the where my leg is on the right side, down there is a diesel pump, and there is the pre-pump, a little mini pump with a little lever on the side. This you must push until fuel comes out of the injectors on the top from the nuts that I'm putting now on. In this case, this truck had another little pump on an additional fuel filter that's right behind the wheel, and I used that because it was easier to access, but it works with both. It doesn't matter as long as you have a little pump to use to get some fuel up on the injectors. So that's what we will do. If you see the car shaking, you see how it's spraying the diesel? That's what you want to see with all of them. So you close this where the diesel come, you close it and make it pretty snug for now, and then you keep pumping and pumping until all of them leak diesel on the top, like this one did. And after this you make everyone snug and tight. They don't need to be too much, don't break it, but it must be pretty snug and very, very tight, because this is a high pressure line. It has a lot of pressure. So after removing all the air from the filter, from the lines, and every single injector has leaked diesel, then we can make them all snug and you're ready. That was it. You must of course check, start the engine one time, make sure that nothing is leaking, the return lines are not leaking, these high pressure lines on the top are not leaking, you don't hear any kind of blow by, like, you know, air coming out of the cylinder through the injector bore. And if everything is sealed and you don't see any kind of leaks, you are ready. Of course, as you will see, I will do it also in the video, you can take a little bit of brake cleaner, spray all over the injectors on top where all this diesel leak now from the air removal. You must clean everything, and after you make it with brake cleaner, you blow it up with air, start the engine, check if everything is good, nothing is leaking, then you are ready. that was it. Your injectors are changed. If you have any kind of question or anything you want to know that I can help you with, you can always comment. If you like the video, like it. If you want, subscribe. If not, it's okay. Thank you for watching. If you reached so far, you are the best. Have a good day. I hope your truck is good and I helped you. So, thank you for watching. You can watch. I will start now the engine.